Have you ever thought about the long, unbroken chain of people that had to exist for you to just be here, generation after generation, facing unimaginable hardships, all making one fundamental choice to have a child? We are all products of the past, and we have a primal need to be part of a future. But what happens when the most powerful institution in our modern lives, the modern corporation, sees that fundamental human drive not as a virtue, but as a liability? What happens when the culture of work becomes openly hostile to the culture of family? This is not a story about changing values. It's a story of a direct conflict within how society functions, a war being waged in job interviews, performance reviews, and unspoken corporate expectations. We're told to find our why, our motivation, but we are penalized if that why is a child. The evidence is overwhelming. We are living through a systemic deprioritization of family, and the modern workplace is ground zero. The first shot fired in this war is essentially a psychological one. It's a phrase you've probably heard before in business culture. We're a family. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It's well-crafted corporate messaging, well-crafted corporate speak. But here's what it really is. It is designed to co-opt the language of our most sacred bonds, loyalty, love, unconditional support, and apply it to a spreadsheet. But a job is not a family. A family doesn't lay you off to boost quarterly earnings. Family doesn't demand you sacrifice your actual family for its own goals. This corporate family is a demand for total commitment. It asks you for your evenings, your weekends, your mental energy, your health, and everything else you are willing to offer. It seeks to become the primary source of meaning and community in your life, replacing the one you're supposed to be building at home. A 2022 Gallup poll found a staggering 50% of US workers feeling stressed at their daily jobs. And this is a result of pressure to be all in. Meanwhile, global worker stress is also at an all-time high of 44%. This demand for 100% commitment creates a brutal economic reality, especially for women. It's called the motherhood penalty. It is one of the most well-documented forces in our economy. It is the lifelong financial hit a woman takes for having a child. The moment a woman becomes a mother, she is often viewed by the system as less committed, less reliable, and less ambitious. Meanwhile, male colleagues often receive fatherhood bonuses, seeing their earnings increase after having a child because they are perceived as more stable and responsible. For every child a woman has, her earnings are estimated in some cases to decrease by as much as 50%, where researchers have shown that working women see their incomes cut in half on average after having children, and that their earnings remain low for years. That's a penalty that accumulates into hundreds of thousands of dollars in earnings over a lifetime. The system is, of course, designed around an imaginary employee, the so-called ideal worker. No dependents, no distractions, no personal life that could ever interfere with business. Of course, those workers will stay late at a moment's notice, travel whenever needed, and answer emails at 10 p.m. A family, and specifically the responsibilities of motherhood, is the ultimate deviation from this ideal. A landmark study found that when presented with equally qualified resumes, mothers were 79% less likely to be hired than women without children. Again, this is for equally qualified equivalent resumes. So when we see the rise of movements like the DINK, the dual income no kids, we have to stop pretending it's just a lifestyle choice about wanting vacations or being selfish, quote unquote. For millions, it is a calculated, rational response to a hostile environment. And with each passing day, the cost of living continues to explode. And it seems like the only way to have any semblance of economic security in this world is to not have children. So these people are choosing a career track and the freedom from a system that demands you choose between a promotion and your child's school play. The average DINK household in America has a disposable income that is on average 20 to 30% higher than their counterparts with children. Meanwhile, the median net worth of a couple with no kids is around $399,000 in 2022, which is around $150,000 more than couples with children, and that equates to about a 60% higher net worth on average. That difference is massive. This isn't just an American problem, it's a feature of intense, demanding work cultures globally. Look at South Korea, a nation famous for its grueling work hours and academic pressure. It now holds the world's lowest fertility rate, a catastrophic 0.72 in 2023. The government has thrown over $200 billion at the problem, but money can't fix a culture where work has consumed everything. We can look at Japan, the origin of Karoshi, which literally means death from overwork. Japan's population has been shrinking for over 15 years, and Japan's demographic pyramid is completely inverted, with more than twice as many people over 65 as children under 15. China, famous for its 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, sees its population fall for the fourth straight year in 2025, with a brutal and demanding work culture. Its fertility rate now sits around 1.0, signaling a demographic collapse. The common thread is clear. Where the demand of work becomes absolute, the family dies. The consequences of this global trend are not abstract or distant. They will define the 21st century. A world with fewer children is a world with a shrinking workforce tasked with supporting a ballooning population of retirees. In 2020, the number of people aged 60 years or above outnumbered children under 5 years old for the first time in human history. And from 2015 to 2050, the proportion of the world's population over the age of 60 will nearly double from 12% to 22%. It is no exaggeration to say that we are becoming older as a society than we have ever been with each passing day. Fewer young people means fewer new ideas and a smaller tax base to fund the pensions and social security and healthcare systems that a rapidly aging population desperately needs to survive. Even fairly optimistic projections predict that by 2060, the number of elderly people for every 100 workers could double when compared to 2019 levels, creating an unsustainable economic reality. Beyond the spreadsheets, there is a human cost, though. A pandemic of loneliness. A world with fewer children is a world with fewer siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Family is our first and most powerful community, our primary defense against isolation. With its decline, we become more disconnected. The U.S. Surgeon General has already called loneliness a public health epidemic, stating its mortality impact is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So, is this it? Are we doomed to a future defined by economic decline and social isolation, all because we've allowed work to declare war on the family? While the future is uncertain, there can be some degree of fighting back. And the first step is calling the bluff. The next time you hear from a business, we are a family, we should have the courage to say, well, we are a team and my family is at home. But unfortunately, we are often penalized for speaking truth in a sea of lies. But reclaiming boundaries is the first step in a desperately needed revolution. It requires a cultural shift to see a job for what it is, a transaction. A job is how we acquire resources to live our real lives and to build our real families and our communities. And this means a deep need to create a corporate world that not only tolerates family, but actively supports it. Things like affordable childcare, which in 38 US states now costs more annually than public college tuition. It means parental leave for both parents, minimizing the motherhood penalty and embracing flexible work and judging employees based on their output, not something like keystrokes or how many hours they sit in a chair in an office somewhere. Countries like France already have programs to cover up to 85% of the cost of childcare for families. They have managed to maintain relatively high fertility rates compared to their neighbors. Looking at the future, the rise of automation and AI present a choice, whether to use these tools to enrich a tiny elite and add more pressure on the human workforce, or use productivity gains to buy back our time, to work less, to shorten the work week, and allow us the time and resources to invest in the things that actually create a future worth living in. So that long, unbroken chain of humanity that led to you and me was never about maximizing shareholder value. It is about recognizing that there is no future if the world is openly hostile to the existence of the next chapter of humanity. And this doesn't mean rejecting work. Absolutely not. It means putting work back in its proper place. It means building a world where the most important bottom line isn't on a balance sheet, but in the home we build. So how do you see the future of work and the family playing out? Will things improve over time, or will they only continue to get worse? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please consider liking and subscribing. This has been Blinded by Logic. Thanks for watching.